Before the sun rises above the quiet rooftops of the village, the blacksmith is already awake. In the dim glow of fading embers, the workshop waits patiently. The tools are silent for now. Hammers, tongs, and chisels resting beside the heavy anvil. Outside, the village still sleeps. But soon, farmers, soldiers, and travelers will come seeking the strength of iron shaped by fire. The blacksmith moves slowly through the workshop, preparing the forge for another long day. Charcoal is added carefully, and the first sparks begin to glow again. For centuries, men like him have stood in places like this, turning raw metal into the tools that hold medieval life together. As the fire grows stronger, the forge becomes the beating heart of the workshop. The blacksmith places a bar of iron into the flames, watching patiently as it begins to glow a deep orange. Heat fills the room, carrying the familiar scent of smoke and burning charcoal. When the metal is ready, he lifts it carefully with iron tongs and brings it down upon the anvil. The first strike of the hammer echoes through the quiet village. Slowly, rhythmically, the blacksmith shapes the glowing iron. Each strike is controlled, practiced, and patient. In this steady rhythm, the village begins to wake. The sound of the forge has always been one of the first signs that a new day is begun. Much of the blacksmith's work is not for war, but for the quiet labor of daily life. Farmers arrive with worn tools needing repair, broken plow blades, bent sickles, and dull axes. Each piece of iron carries the marks of long seasons spent in the fields. With patience and skill, the blacksmith restores these tools to strength once more. Without his work, the village could not harvest its crops or build its homes. Though he works beside fire and iron, the blacksmith's craft quietly supports the entire community. As the morning grows brighter, the blacksmith's workshop slowly fills with visitors. Farmers arrive carrying tools worn down by months of work in the fields. A shepherd waits patiently with a bent iron hook, while another villager brings a broken hinge from a wooden door. Each visitor knows that the blacksmith's skill can restore what time and labor have damaged. In a small medieval village, iron is too valuable to waste. Instead, it is repaired, reshaped, and used again for many years. Soon, the steady rhythm of hammer against iron fills the workshop once again. The blacksmith lifts his hammer high before bringing it down with careful precision. Each strike shapes the glowing metal just a little more. The sound travels beyond the workshop walls and into the narrow streets of the village. For generations, the ringing of the anvil has been a familiar sound of daily life, echoing across the countryside. Not all of the blacksmith's work happens at the anvil. From time to time, villagers bring their horses to the workshop. Travel across rough medieval roads can quickly wear down the iron shoes that protect a horse's hooves. With patience, the blacksmith shapes new horseshoes and carefully attaches them in place. A well-shod horse can travel many miles safely, carrying farmers, merchants, and travelers across the medieval countryside. Another common task in the forge is sharpening blades. Axes, knives, and farming tools slowly lose their edge after many days of work. The blacksmith carefully grinds the metal, restoring the sharpness needed for daily tasks. The spinning stone wheel sends small sparks into the dim air of the workshop. With steady hands and careful attention, the blacksmith ensures each blade is ready to serve its purpose once again. Although most of the blacksmith's work serves farmers and villagers, there are times when soldiers arrive at the forge. Their weapons and armor must remain strong and reliable. A sword that bends too easily or a damaged spearhead could mean danger on the battlefield. The blacksmith carefully studies the worn metal, judging where it must be heated, hammered, and strengthened again. Slowly, the iron glows red within the fire. When the blade is ready, the blacksmith lifts it from the flames and strikes it against the anvil with practiced strength. Sparks scatter across the dim workshop like tiny stars. Each careful strike restores the weapon's strength, preparing it once more for the uncertain roads and distant battles of the medieval world. The forge grows hotter as the day continues. Flames roar softly inside the stone furnace, while thick charcoal burns steadily beneath the iron. The heat fills the workshop, making the air heavy and warm. Even during the colder seasons of the year, the blacksmith often works surrounded by intense heat and drifting smoke. Yet the blacksmith has long grown accustomed to these conditions. For him, the glow of the forge is as familiar as the rising sun over the village fields. Day after day, the same fire transforms cold metal into tools that support nearly every part of medieval life. From time to time, curious children from the village gather near the doorway of the workshop. They watch quietly as the blacksmith shapes glowing iron with powerful strikes of his hammer. To young eyes, the forge almost seems magical, a place where cold metal becomes something new. The blacksmith sometimes smiles as he notices their quiet fascination. Many years ago, he too may have stood in a similar doorway, watching an older craftsman work beside the fire. Skills like these often pass slowly from one generation to the next. Much of the blacksmith's day is spent repairing rather than creating new objects. Broken hinges, cracked tools, and bent pieces of iron arrive regularly from every corner of the village. Each item tells a small story of long use and hard work. With steady patience, the blacksmith heats the damaged metal until it softens. Then he reshapes it slowly upon the anvil, restoring strength to the worn iron. In this careful way, objects that seemed ruined are often given many more years of life. Throughout the day, the steady ringing of hammer against anvil spreads across the nearby streets of the village. People passing along the dirt road can hear the familiar rhythm echoing between the wooden houses. For many villagers, the sound of the forge has become part of the natural soundtrack of daily life. Merchants, farmers, and travelers all recognize the sound instantly. It reminds them that tools are being repaired, horseshoes are being shaped, and iron is being prepared for the many small needs of village life. The forge quietly supports the rhythm of the entire community. Beside the forge stands a large pair of wooden bellows. From time to time, the blacksmith pulls the long handles, pushing fresh air into the burning charcoal. The flames immediately grow brighter and stronger, wrapping the iron in intense heat. This simple tool allows the fire to reach temperatures hot enough to soften even the hardest metal. Without the bellows, the forge would struggle to produce the heat required for shaping iron. In many ways, the quiet breath of the bellows keeps the entire workshop alive. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, the blacksmith finally pauses his work for a short rest. The forge continues to glow softly behind him while he steps outside into the fresh village air. The quiet moment allows his arms and shoulders to recover after hours of heavy labor. From the doorway, he watches villagers passing along the road, carrying baskets, tools, and supplies from the fields. Life continues steadily around him, and soon the blacksmith will return to the fire and the steady rhythm of his craft. After a short rest, the blacksmith returns to his anvil. The afternoon light filters softly through the small workshop window, while the forge glows with renewed heat. More tools await repair, and the steady rhythm of hammer and iron soon fills the room once again. Hours pass slowly as the blacksmith continues shaping metal with patient precision. Each task requires careful attention, whether repairing a farming tool or shaping a simple iron hinge. Even the smallest objects demand skill and experience. One of the most common tasks for the blacksmith is shaping horseshoes. Horses are essential for travel, farming, and carrying heavy loads across long distances. Without proper horseshoes, their hooves would quickly wear down on rough medieval roads. Inside the glowing forge, the blacksmith heats a straight bar of iron until it becomes bright red and flexible enough to bend into the familiar curved shape. With careful strikes of the hammer, the iron slowly takes the form of a perfect horseshoe. The blacksmith measures each curve with experienced eyes, making sure it will fit comfortably on the animal's hoof. Every village depends on strong horses, and in quiet ways, the blacksmith helps keep those journeys possible. The forge is filled with many familiar smells. Burning charcoal releases a deep, smoky scent that lingers in the air throughout the workshop. Heated metal adds its own sharp metallic aroma, while wooden beams above slowly absorb years of smoke and warmth. To visitors, the smell may seem strong, but to the blacksmith, it simply means that the forge is alive and working. These scents follow the blacksmith even after he leaves the workshop at the end of the day. His clothes carry the faint smell of charcoal and iron, a quiet reminder of the craft that shapes his daily life. In medieval villages, the smell of a forge often signals the presence of hard work and skilled hands. Around the workshop walls hang many tools that the blacksmith uses every day. Different hammers rest beside long iron tongs, chisels, punches, and heavy files. Each tool has a specific purpose, carefully chosen for shaping metal in different ways. Over the years, the blacksmith learns exactly which tool to reach for without even needing to think. Some of these tools may have been crafted by the blacksmith himself many years earlier. Strong handles and worn metal surfaces reveal the long history of work inside the forge. In this quiet collection of tools lives the experience of countless hours spent shaping iron. As evening slowly approaches, warm golden light enters the workshop through the open doorway. Outside, the village begins to grow quieter as farmers return from the fields. Inside the forge, the steady rhythm of hammer and anvil continues for a little while longer. The glow of the forge now mixes with the fading colors of sunset. Sparks rise briefly into the darker air before disappearing. For the blacksmith, this peaceful moment marks the final tasks of the day before the fire is allowed to fade into gentle embers. At last, the day comes to an end. The blacksmith allows the fire inside the forge to slowly fade, leaving only a quiet bed of glowing embers. The workshop grows calmer as the sound of hammering disappears into the evening silence. Tools are carefully placed back on their hooks along the wooden walls. Tomorrow, the forge will burn again, and new work will begin with the rising sun. For now, the blacksmith leaves the quiet workshop behind and walks home through the peaceful medieval village night. Night slowly settles over the quiet medieval village. One by one, lantern lights appear in the small wooden homes scattered along the narrow dirt road. The busy sounds of the day gradually fade, replaced by the calm stillness of evening. Inside the blacksmith's workshop, the forge now burns low, leaving only gentle embers glowing softly within the stone furnace. The blacksmith pauses for a moment beside the doorway, looking out across the peaceful village street. After a long day of shaping iron and repairing tools, the quiet night feels calm and well-deserved. Tomorrow, the fire will burn brightly again, and the steady rhythm of hammer and anvil will once more echo through the village. Leaving the workshop behind, the blacksmith walks slowly along the quiet village path toward his home. The cool night air feels refreshing after the heat of the forge. Above him, the dark sky stretches wide, dotted with quiet stars shining gently over the rooftops of the sleeping village. His hands still carry the faint scent of iron and charcoal from the day's work. These small reminders of the forge are part of the life he has known for many years. Tomorrow, new tools will need shaping, and new iron will glow inside the fire once again. For many blacksmiths, the craft is not learned in a single day. Skills are passed slowly from master to apprentice, often across many years. A young helper might begin by simply watching the work, learning the sounds of the hammer and the behavior of heated iron. Over time, the apprentice begins practicing simple tasks, carefully guided by the experienced blacksmith. In this patient way, the knowledge of shaping iron continues through generations, keeping the important craft alive in medieval villages. Almost every part of village life depends in some way on the work of the blacksmith. Farming tools help grow food in the surrounding fields. Strong iron nails hold wooden homes together, and sturdy hinges allow doors and gates to open and close smoothly. Though his work often happens quietly inside the forge, its impact reaches far beyond the workshop walls. The iron shaped by the blacksmith supports the daily lives of farmers, travelers, and families across the entire village. As a new morning approaches, the quiet forge waits patiently for another day of work. Soon, the fire will be lit again, and the first pieces of iron will begin to glow within the heat. The familiar rhythm of hammer and anvil will once again echo through the workshop. In villages across medieval Europe, this steady rhythm continues day after day, year after year. Through patience, skill, and quiet dedication, the blacksmith helps shape the tools that allow communities to grow and thrive. As the first light of morning spreads across the medieval village, the blacksmith begins preparing the forge once again. The quiet streets slowly come to life as farmers and villagers start their daily routines. Inside the workshop, the blacksmith arranges fresh charcoal within the furnace, carefully building the fire that will soon glow brightly and warm the room. Soon, the familiar warmth begins to return as small flames rise among the charcoal. The workshop slowly fills with the gentle crackling sound of burning fuel. For the blacksmith, this quiet moment marks the true beginning of another long and steady day of work beside the glowing forge. Travelers passing through the village often stop at the blacksmith's forge. Long journeys across rough medieval roads can wear down a horse's hooves quickly. Because of this, strong and well-fitted horseshoes are essential for safe travel across distant lands. The blacksmith carefully lifts the horse's hoof and examines its condition before shaping a new horseshoe. With practiced hands and patient movements, he prepares the iron so it will protect the animal during many miles of travel ahead. The clear ringing sound of hammer striking iron quickly fills the workshop once more. Each strike sends bright sparks dancing briefly through the air before fading into the warm glow of the forge. The rhythm is steady, almost musical in its repetition. Villagers walking past the workshop often recognize this sound immediately. It signals that the blacksmith is already hard at work, shaping the metal tools that support daily life throughout the entire community. Working with iron requires patience as much as strength. The blacksmith must wait carefully while the metal heats within the glowing fire. Only when the iron reaches the correct temperature does it become soft enough to shape upon the anvil. Rushing this process would only damage the metal and ruin the work. Through years of experience, the blacksmith learns to read the color of the heated iron, understanding exactly when it is ready for the hammer. As the village grows busier with the activities of a new day, the blacksmith continues his steady work beside the forge. The glowing fire and the ringing anvil once again become the center of his daily routine. For generations across medieval Europe, blacksmiths have followed this same quiet rhythm. Day after day, they shape iron into the tools that allow farms, homes, and entire villages to function and grow.